Okay, we're going to go over last night's homework, solving equations with decimals, practice 5-7. You've been given red pens to correct your papers. Before you mark something wrong, if you're not sure if it's right or wrong, raise your hand and your teacher will be around to help you out. Listen carefully to the answers. If you need to, you may make notes on your page using the pen so that it helps you to grow and understand where you're making your mistakes or how you can even improve your work. Okay? So remember, making notes on your pages, even when the question is correct, is a good way to promote a higher level of understanding and learning. Here we go. Problems 1, 2, and 3. Explain how to get the variable alone in each equation. If you look at problem number 1, the problem is 7n equals 6 3/10. This would be the same as 7 times some unknown number. In order to get the variable by itself, the inverse operation, you would divide both sides by 7. You should have divide both sides by 7. The key is to make sure you say divide by 7. Problem number 2. You have x divided by 3 2/10. So in this situation, to get x by itself, you would use the inverse operation of division, and you would multiply both sides by 3.2. Again, the key is to have multiply both sides by 3.2. Number 3, you have 67 3/10 equals 3 2/10 times q. In this situation, you would simply divide both sides by 32, or 3.2. 3.2. Number 4. 4 through 9. Solve each equation. Check your answers. Okay, for number 4, in order to figure out the value of x, what x equals, you would have to use the inverse operation and do 8 times 5 6/10. When you do that problem, you get an answer of 44 8/10. In this situation, we are not going to mark it wrong if you didn't put down x equals, but on your paper, if you don't have x equals, write down x equals so that you know that the proper way of saying it and showing it is to give the variable equals. Number 5. P times 3 4/10 equals 7 48/100. In this case, you would use the inverse operation, and you would take 7 4/8, and you would divide it by 3 4/10. In other words, if you rewrote your expression in layers, it would be P times 3 4/10 divided by 3 4/10 equals 7 48/100 divided by 3 4/10. And then you would just get P by itself over here because division and multiplication cancel each other out, which also cancels out the value of 3 1/4, which leaves P by itself, and then 7 48/100 divided by 3 4/10 gives you a value of 2 2/10. So P equals 2 2/10. Number 6. When you look at number 6, you have 4z equals 50 and 8/10. And what this means is actually 4. When we see coefficients, we sometimes forget that all we're looking at is this. So 4 times some number equals 50 and 8/10. Now, if we were to set this up in layers, we would be doing the same thing on both sides using the inverse operation, and we would see that our first step would to take 4 times z, and we're going to then use the inverse operation, which is division, and if we're multiplying by 4, we will undo it by dividing by 4. Then we have to take 50 and 8/10, and we have to make sure that we apply the division by 4 on the other side. The division property of equality. Then, once we have that, we can then isolate z by itself, and then we do the math of 50 and 8/10 divided by 4, and when we do that, we come up with a value of 12 and 7/10. So z equals 12 and 7/10. And then surely you would want to check it by simply reversing it and doing 4 times 12 and 7/10, and it should equal 50 and 8/10. And if you were to do that math, you would see that the values are the same. Okay, going on to the next set of questions. Number 7, 56 equals 4 and 1/10 times t. In this situation, all you're really looking at is 1 and 4/10 times some number equals 56. Well, the opposite of multiplication is the inverse operation of division. So we're going to take 1 and 4/10 times t, 1 and 4/10 times t, and we're going to divide by 1 and 4/10. If we divide by 1 and 4/10 on the left side of the equation, we also have to divide by 1 and 4/10 on the right side. If we do the actual math and we divide, we will find that we get 40 on the right side, and division will cancel out the multiplication, so we can lose our value, leaving t by itself. So the solution is t, whoops, wrong question, t equals 40 for number 7, t equals 40. Okay, number 8, the correct answer for number 8, again, it is n divided by 12 equals, n divided by 2 and 1/10 equals 12. Again, we would rewrite it with inverse operations, and it would be n divided by 2 and 1/10 times 2 and 1/10 equals 12 times 2 and 1/10. Division is canceled out by multiplication, so the value of 2 and 1/10 leaves us with n by itself. 12 times 2 and 1/10 equals 25 and 2/10. And again, in order to check this, what you would do then is you would take your original equation and you would replace n with your solution and divide by 2 1/10. And when you get your answer, what you will find is that it should equal 12. Number 9, the correct answer, S equals 18 5/10. 18 5/10. Number 10, Sonja purchased some pens that cost 65 cents each. She spent a total of $9.10. How many pens did she purchase? Write an equation to describe the situation. Well, in this situation, what you're looking at is we know that she's going to pay a total of $9.10. How does she figure that out? Well, the pens each cost 65 cents. We don't know how many pens she purchased because it says how many pens did she purchase. So we know, however, if we want to go from individual prices to a total, we have to multiply that by the number of pens that she purchased, which is X. So that would be the pens that she buys. The 65 cents is the unit price of the pens, and then the $9.10 is the total. So the expression, the equation for solving this would be 65n, or 65x, you can use any variable, equals the total of $9.10. Now that is an equation because it gives us an equal sign. Then they ask you another question and they want to know how many pens were purchased. So first we wrote our equation and now we are expected to solve it. Well, in order to solve this, you would then have to take the $9.10 and use the inverse operation of multiplication, and you would take $9.10 and you would divide it by 65 cents to get your total. Okay? And again, if we were to show it in layers, you'd have 65 cents times X divided by 65 cents. That would get X by itself over here. And then, of course, if you do the math, you end up with 14. Because $9.10 divided by 65 allows for 14 actual pens to be purchased. Number 11, critical thinking. If 32n equals 99 2/10, then what is the value of the expression 8n? Well, if we say this in a different way, we would say that we have 32 times a number equals 99 2/10. And in order to determine the value of the expression 8n, what we have to do first is we would first have to do 99 2/10 divided by 32, which would equal 3 1/10. That tells us the value of n. We would then go down and we would take the value of n, which is 3 1/10, and we multiply it by 8, because we're looking at 8 times the value of n. You can switch them around because of the commutative property. Either way, When you multiply, you are going to get an answer of 24 and 8/10. Number 12. Which equation has the same solution as m divided by 2 and 6/10 equals 3 and 5/10? In this situation, the answer is A. And the key to this is to know that if you're going to figure out the value of m, you simply take 3 and 5/10 times 2 and 6/10. In this situation, you have the commutative property. They've just mixed up the numbers that would be used as factors, and so you know that if 3 and 5/10 times 2 and 6/10 equals m, then you know that, of course, 2 and 6/10 times 5, 3 and 5/10 would equal m as well. Number 13, they want you to tell how you would get the variable p alone on each side of the equation. 32 and 4/10 equals 4p. Well, in this situation, again, our problem is nothing more than 4 times some number equals 32 and 4/10. The inverse operation of multiplication is division, so again, you would simply take 32 and 4/10 and divide it by 4, but remember you have to divide both sides by 4 in order to get the variable alone, and so therefore your answer would be 4p divided by 4 gives you p by itself, which equals this amount here, which would give you your answer. Okay, I will check those answers over. What I'd like you to do right now is write the number correct you have at the top of your page, assuming that you got number 13 correct, and I will check your work on my time. So please put the number correct at the top of the page, assuming 13 is correct, and then we will collect the papers.